Good morning. I say good morning to the U.S. Virgin Islands. It's a beautiful day here in the U.S. Virgin Islands. And I just want to say that, we have a lot of things. Rob, there's a little buzzing I could hear. Uh, it's a beautiful day here in the U.S. Virgin Islands, of course. And we always want to believe that it's just beautiful days in the U.S. Virgin Islands just simply means there's some promise here in the U.S. Virgin Islands and everywhere. And I'm talking about the Virgin Islanders just throughout the United States. Those of you abroad who have a vested interest still in the U.S. Virgin Islands, and we truly understand, that you have a vested interest in the Virgin Islands. So in starting out this morning, I just wanted to provide some brief updates. The number of COVID deaths here in the U.S. Virgin Islands has hit a new high. It's up over the hundreds, in the hundreds now. And of course, we want to believe that this thing is going to subside and somehow go away. Let's hope that it does. And, I wanted to make an announcement that we are supposed to be embarking or launching, as I would say, Sunday on the Sand down at Cookie Point Beach, where we will feature Virgin Islands culture and Virgin Islands music, but as well as give visitors a chance to interact and share with us their experiences. And the program is called Sunday on the Sand. So prepare yourself for that because it's going to be very exciting. We should be launching in the next 2 or 3 weeks. And crime has been quiet in the U.S. Virgin Islands, and that's a good thing that crime is actually quiet in the U.S. Virgin Islands, because anywhere else, I mean, the majority of places, when you have a rise in crime, people get concerned because the comfort zone and going out there and interacting, attending different activities, even going to the grocery store becomes a concern for persons, that want to go ahead and enjoy themselves, enjoy some entertainment in their respective environment. In this case, the U.S. Virgin Islands, where we had seen a rise in crime or a spree of crimes for a period of time. We can only hope that somehow things are under some kind of control, subdued to the point where residents can again, since the COVID restrictions have been lifted, that they feel comfortable in going out and attending different activities, interacting with people, and ultimately enjoying themselves. And folks, hurricane season. We're quickly approaching hurricane season now. And I know that there's a lot of residents out there whose home were compromised, who still have blue tops on their rooftops. And it doesn't seem like we're hearing too much concern by the administration in at least developing a program and a fast track to reach out to residents of the Virgin Islands and ensure that they are, in fact, in domiciles or under roofs that are strong and that they feel comfortable in their dwellings. Because as it stands right now, I've been talking to a lot of people in the Virgin Islands who still have not received any assistance from the home repair program, and is questioning whether or not this program still exists. There's millions of dollars that are available for residents to be able to tap into that program and get assistance for their respective home. But no one, we pray that nothing happens during the hurricane season, that God spares us from the wrath of any future hurricanes or disasters in general. So moving along, St. Patrick's Day celebration. I understand that it was a huge success and they're taunting success. And St. Patrick's Day parade, I understand, wheeled a number of people. Many Virgin Islanders went out. A lot of Virgin Islanders who typically enjoy Carnival as well. Carnival is coming up. And let's hope that the same emphasis by the administration is placed on our Virgin Islands culture and traditions, because after all, many of us grew up on Carnival, our tradition, our culture. We enjoy it, and we don't want to stray too far away from it. But I want to congratulate those people for the St. Patrick's Day celebration that seemed to have had all their T's crossed and was able to facilitate many, many things, but basically organize an event that went incident free. And that's always a good thing, that Virgin Islanders as well can go out and enjoy themselves to an activity without any incidents. I received a call last week, Friday, where individual was telling me that they had called the Department of Public Works to inquire about some particular road paving here on St. Thomas, and they said that they had run out of money. Now, I don't know anything about running out of money. I thought that they had over 600 million to actually conduct road paving throughout the U.S. Virgin Islands. So that is something that we'll need to look into, and hopefully I'll be able to encourage the Commissioner of Public Works to come up here and answer some questions that residents have regarding road paving and what projects that are on the drawing board. What can we expect? But this morning is reserved for the purpose of discussing something that many elected officials don't want to touch within a 10-foot pole, because you're not supposed to say anything about this one particular entity, and that is Southland Gaming. What is wrong with speaking about Southland Gaming? What is wrong with sharing your views? So this morning, there is a proposal before the Senate, and the Senate, the legislature, is supposed to deliberate on this so-called proposal tomorrow before the Senate. And I'm talking about a proposal that seeks to facilitate the construction of the E. Phillips racetrack facility on St. Thomas, and to support and improve horse racing in the Virgin Islands, and to amend certain sections of the Virgin Islands Horse Racing Industry Assistance Act of 2016. And this particular legislation is, the governor indicated that they have reached an agreement with Southland Gaming of the Virgin Islands, Inc., and I refer to them as Southland, and VIGL Operations LLC, which we'll refer to as VIGL. And that is to facilitate the things that I indicated to you. But the first question that I asked when I heard about this initiative, the first question I asked was whether that they could provide me with this so-called agreement that Southland Gaming and VIGL struck, because I'd like to read the content of it. And you know, it's one thing to speak and indicate what you're going to do. And I'll give you an example, because I'm taken back, and I feel sorry for the horse owners and horse racing enthusiasts that have high expectations for horse racing to return to the Virgin Islands, because after all, horse racing, one of the major components of carnival and carnival activities is what? Carnival races. We have carnival coming up, and we can't expect any carnival races. So that is a quick reminder to many of us that horse racing is still in limbo. Now, back to this particular initiative, this so-called proposal, absent of an actual agreement that is signed. So they say it's a proposal. So I guess the Senate is supposed to vote on a proposal by the administration absent of an agreement signed between the two entities. That seemed like putting the cart before the horse. But nevertheless, I'll move on. It claims in the proposal that Southland Gaming will develop and subcontract for the construction of facilities at the St. Thomas racetrack. Southland will commit up to $100,000 per race day, up to $60,000 annually. Now, it is easy to assume or make an assumption that they're saying that there will be a minimum of 6 race cards per year. Now, interesting, $100,000. Okay, it makes sense, it calculates. But again, is this absent of an executed agreement? And I'm waiting to see this executed agreement. But let me go back in time, folks, because I think it's important for us to ask some very, very key questions. And some of the questions that I fielded from the public and I generated myself was who really has exclusivity on internet gaming in the Virgin Islands? Because understand, sports betting, pari-mutuel, and even VLTs that is driven by internet is a form of internet gaming. They will argue with me because they have even, and I'm talking about Southland, have been able to purport a definition of VLTs. And I have just a little recording here because I think it's important that we dive into the details of this even before I start to entertain calls, because I've always felt that when it comes to this VLT and the VLT and all the associated games that come with it, that government, in order to derive a significant amount of revenues, because after all, we know your chances of winning on these machines, and I'll share that with you in a second, but we know your chances of winning. Shouldn't the government have positioned themselves to take over or to run the VLT gaming in the U.S. Virgin Islands and assume some kind of ownership after a period of time? I didn't realize that Southland Gaming's agreement was to be considered in perpetuity or for a long period of time here in the U.S. Virgin Islands, with the government getting their little share. And of course, the patrons or the establishments, the businesses, receive a small percentage for having these games in their establishment. And many of them will tell you that it's a panacea for them, that it's been a windfall for them to be able to survive in their respective businesses. But again, let's come back to the conduit, which is the government of the U.S. Virgin Islands. And the government being, you know, the host and allowing for internet, for VLTs to exist in the Virgin Islands. And you'll hear me going back and forth between two items. And those two items are basically internet gaming, VLTs, but who has exclusivity on internet gaming or VLTs in the U.S. Virgin Islands? Because if VLTs are a form of internet gaming because they're driven by internet, the gaming or the programming is done via internet, and there's internet access, it would seem to me that they fall within the category of internet gaming. But that is left to question, because I believe that Virgin Islanders some Virgin Islanders enjoy the entertainment of gaming. But I thought it was important for me to be able to share with you and break it down in a very simple form, the issue of internet gaming. And permit me to just share with you a little caption, folks. So pay attention.
Many people enjoy video lottery terminals, or VLTs. Before play, most set a money limit. That is the amount they intend to spend. Difficulties arise when people exceed their limit. Exceed their limit. Exceed their limit. How VLTs work. The following illustration describes how a VLT works with a simple bag of marbles. To begin, we'll have 19 losing white marbles and a single red winning marble. In order to make the outcome random, the bag is given a good shake. Now, there is no way to predict where the red marble is. On each play of the VLT, your bet allows you to reach into the bag and take out one marble. Since there are 20 in all, your chance of winning is 1 in 20. You take out a marble, and it's white. You've lost this time. Now, stop and ask yourself what the chance of winning on your next bet is. There are 19 marbles left in the bag, 18 white and 1 red. It would be natural to conclude that your chances have improved. That is, you might think your chance of winning is now 1 in 19. However, this is not the case. Before your next play, you must first place the losing marble back in the bag, bringing the chance of winning back down to the same as your first draw, 1 in 20. No matter how many times you draw, your chance of winning remains exactly the same. It never gets any better. This is the reload feature. A VLT reloads after every play on every VLT. The losing marble always gets put back in the bag. But, you say, at 1 in 20, you'll win sooner or later, so it's not that bad a deal. However, on real VLTs, the chance of winning a jackpot is much lower. It varies from one VLT to the next, but on some VLTs, your chance of winning the jackpot can be as low as 1 in a million. To better understand your true chances, imagine a bag holding 1 million marbles, and buried in the million marbles is the single red jackpot. For each and every play, your chance of winning the jackpot always stays at about 1 in a million. Past wins or losses have no bearing on the outcome of the next spin. Thus, persistence at a particular VLT game does not guarantee you'll win. Given what you've learned, here are 2 habits for playing responsibly. 1. Set your limit. Before heading to the VLTs, decide how much money you can afford and are prepared to lose. 2. Remember the odds. When tempted to go over your limit, remember the odds are stacked against you. The likelihood is you will lose.
I just wanted to share that with you guys, and to give you guys some perspective about what you need to do and what you need to understand when you're going to indulge in these VLT machines. Because as it stands right now, there are folks that probably are addicted to the machines. There are folks that use it as a form of entertainment. I get that. But government has to look out for folks as well. Government has to look out for Virgin Islanders. I think that when you look at the arguments of the Attorney General, for example, in the case where Southland Gaming sued the government of the Virgin Islands because they feel they had exclusivity on VLTs in the U.S. Virgin Islands, I don't think that the court was able to truly test the issue of exclusivity. The Attorney General had the right idea. And then on the part of the public now, there is something that I wanted to weigh in on, and I've wanted to do this for a long time. And I think that I would need to go back into the history so Virgin Islanders truly understand when they mention this issue of exclusivity. Maybe who has exclusivity is the person that received the franchise for internet gaming and internet gambling in the Virgin Islands that have been subdued, disenfranchised, and the list goes on. And before I get to that, there's also an issue of antitrust laws in the Virgin Islands. Because if we're going to argue, and we're going to argue and operate like a bully in the Virgin Islands, when I look at this proposed legislation that the governor sent down, it appears to me that the governor got confused with the real purpose or definition of the bully pulpit and attempting to bully people. And I would just say, the bully pulpit is not to bully people. It's just to make sure that you're heard and you're able to have that stage to convey what you want to convey. So coming back to this thing with antitrust laws, and I want to reference one thing in particular, the Sherman Antitrust Act. And let me read to you what it says. United States back in 1890 now. It says, what is the purpose of the Sherman Antitrust Act? The Sherman Antitrust Act was enacted in 1890 to curtail combinations of power that interfere with trade and reduce economic competition. It outlaws both formal cartels and attempts to monopolize any part of commerce in the United States. And Virgin Islanders, that includes the United States Virgin Islands. The Sherman Act Antitrust, or the Sherman Antitrust Act of 1890, is a federal statute which prohibits activities that restrict interstate commerce and competition in the marketplace. And this is just repeating it again. The Sherman Act was named by the Clayton Act, or replaced by the Clayton Act in 1914. The Sherman Act codified. And then I go on to share with you that Congress passed the first antitrust law, the Sherman Act, in 1890. Repeating this again because this is going to mean a lot, Virgin Islanders. And the Comprehensive Charter of Economic Liberty aimed at preserving free and unfettered competition as the rule of trade. In 1914, Congress passed two additional antitrust laws, the Federal Trade Commission Act, which created the FTC, and the Clayton Act. With some revisions, these are the three core federal antitrust laws still in effect today. The antitrust laws provide or prescribe unlawful mergers and business practices in general terms, leaving courts to decide which ones are illegal based on the facts of each case. Courts have applied the antitrust laws to changing markets from time of horse to buggies to the present digital age, yet protect the process of competition for the benefit of consumers, making sure there are strong incentives for businesses to operate efficiently, keep prices down, and keep the quality of life up. So let me go back now a little bit into history, because in 2000 there was a legislation passed, and of course that legislation actually described what was internet gaming and gambling. And of course it was amended in 2020. But in looking at the amendments, one of the things that grabbed me, and I think should grab all Virgin Islanders, is some of the language used in here, some of the sections of that bill being amended was notwithstanding what was provided to a franchise that had it then. And I'm talking about back in 2001. Now, why I know all of this and why I went back to all of this is because it's going to be all relevant. Because if we're talking about one company being able to shape things over and over to benefit them, and even in some instance operate as though it's a bully, that the question of exclusivity, because understand that I understand that the number of people that are going to be invited to testify, among those includes the Attorney General. And I've followed the Attorney General closely to actually, and I pay her respect all the time, the positions that she have taken. And I'm looking forward to seeing a level of consistency, because after all, I think Virgin Islanders and the government reserve the right to be able to embark in their own gaming should they choose to, or their own or operation of VLTs in the Virgin Islands. As it stands now, if you're saying that one entity have exclusivity and the government ever decides that they want to embark on it, will the courts now interfere and say that the government cannot embark on VLTs in the Virgin Islands? I should think not. So let me go back to 2001, because back in 2001, and we move up to 2003, and I'm going to use that time frame, there were, after the internet gaming and internet gambling law was passed, then the legislature entertained an authorization for VLT. And if you step back a second here, because I was one of those, and I can publicly say to you that as the finance chair, we were trying to determine where would the additional revenues come from to balance a budget, balance the Virgin Islands budget. And of course, we looked at potential revenue stream. And I recall that it was, God rest her soul, Senator Lorraine Berry that actually came to me and asked me over and over for support on the authorization for Southland gaming. And after I granted and I provided that support, I went back and did some research, and in hindsight I realized that in doing that research there was an obvious conflict in what the legislature had done. And while the legislature, that august body, can proceed as they deem fit and put language that suggests, notwithstanding any law to the contrary, they could pass this. There is one problem. If it's anything that infringes in a person, an entity, a corporation who has vested interests, then it's a problem, because the government then becomes ultimately liable. But no, if in 2003, recognizing this problem existed after the passage of that authorization for Southland gaming, I offered a bill, which was bill number 250005. Senators could go back and research it. I encourage you to. Go back and research what that bill intended to do. That bill intended to repeal Section 2, Act number 6503, which authorizes the operation of video lottery gaming machines or devices in the St. Thomas St. John district. Of course, that initiative, it failed before the Senate, and it failed because it was a 7-7 vote with one person who actually abstained. And that one person is still around today. But I'm not going to get into that name calling of a one person. But that shaped history and may have very well got us where we are today, where a governor can embark on putting an initiative in place to develop boat racing facilities, and then here comes the bully, and the bully basically determine which way this thing is going to go, and that Virgin Islanders will have to wait, horse racing enthusiasts will have to wait, horse owners will have to wait. So now an entity have been disenfranchised. But wait, they went to court and got somewhat of a judgment, or an opinion as I would call it. But that opinion or the court proceeding failed to examine who could have potentially have the exclusivity on internet gaming, internet gambling, off-track betting, sports betting, and VLTs in the Virgin Islands. So if the court has to test this matter now, I mean, I have all the legislation here, I can provide it to the court for the court to make a determination. But I would ask the competent Attorney General to look into that matter. I've tried to get her here on the radio, but for some reason she has not availed herself or accepted my invitation to come on the radio, and I truly understand. But this matter has to come to a conclusion and resolve, because you're going to continue to put the horse owners and the horse racing enthusiasts spectators in general, lovers of horse racing in the Virgin Islands, you're going to continue to have them in limbo and push them to the wayside. Now, I've shared with you even legislation that was intended to, in fact, repeal that authorization back in 2003. And anything that I share here with you folks, understand that I have the facts in front of me to qualify or support my statements. Now, you have a proposal before you today. And that proposal, I've asked repeatedly, I've asked even the legislature if they could provide me with this so-called proposed agreement. I'm waiting to hear testimony from all the stakeholders. I'm willing to hear VIGL. Maybe VIGL is prepared and Southland Gaming is prepared to go before the legislature and present this agreement to the legislature, because it matters and it's of significance. And I believe that, and I can say this without reservation, that I hope that the legislature is doing proper research and going way back to when the first bill, the Internet Gaming and Internet Gambling franchise, was issued to two entities, one in St. Croix, one in St. Thomas. And the reason that it's important for you to go back and step back and pull this into the equation is because the Attorney General was right when she said that Southland Gaming had no exclusivity. Because in actuality, if you're going to establish exclusivity, then it has to go all the way back to when the franchise was issued or the agreement was issued for a company to be the host for internet gaming and gambling in the U.S. Virgin Islands. And I'm going to be curious to see how this all evolves, but I think it would behoove the senators to really weigh in on this thing properly to ensure that Virgin Islanders' interests, horse owners' interests, and everyone basically who has any remote relationship is protected. I think that the government should be today running VLTs in the Virgin Islands and getting the lion's share, especially when we have to deal with folks who may become addicted, folks who don't understand the chances of winning and sometimes just exceed their limit, like the presentation I provided you earlier. It's because if you're going to sacrifice the people, I think the government should be in control of this whole thing. But ultimately, I think that the court is going to have to weigh in on this once again. So let me go to the telephone line. Pro, con, whoever it is calling, we entertain it here on Connect the Dots. Good morning, you're on the air, Connect the Dots.
Good morning, buenos dias.
Yes, buenos dias, how are you? How are you?
How are you? I don't know what that thing that you're talking about right now, because I'm trying to listen to finally housing and then the committee is in. You know what I wanted to ask you? Remember that time when we did that stuff with Innovated, which is Vitelco, and the way they were like your rates and stuff?
You're talking about you're speaking of the rate investigation that I championed and I maverick legislation through the Senate. Yeah.
Right, because remember I brought in those receipts and stuff, the way they played with us. Now there's this thing with VIA, because I think now VIA, everything is in Guyana or somewhere. You can't get nothing local. And another thing, they have those federal programs, those grants for that free internet and stuff that they said if you're part of the Medicaid, food stamps, any of those social programs.
Yeah.
And then when you have to go online and fill out all of that, and then the ID number that they give you, you take it to what they call Vaya Pa'l Carajo now, and then you take that, and it's still like they're still not going by that. But yeah, you get in all of these kind of receipts again with these exorbitant charge, like saying $300 or $100 and this, and then this is supposed to be free. And the lady there, I mean, because I have an issue with them.
Well, what
because now then they're not giving the resident what they need to give, what the government is saying, but yet you know
okay,
that they
what I
get
can
the
do,
data and they
what I
collect the
can
funds.
do, what I can do is I'll invite someone from VIA to see if they would mind coming on the program and maybe speaking of the different services and stuff they provide. And the reason I'm saying this to you is because this morning we had dedicated discussion on the proposed agreement between Southland Gaming and VIGL, and just basically discussing the
good.
overall.
That's a good one too.
Yeah. So
All right.
I'm fielding calls about that in this short space. Okay.
Okay, no problem, no problem.
Okay.
Oh, great. That's another shumu.
Well, thanks
All
for
right,
calling.
thank you very much. Que Dios nos bendiga.
Okay.
And gracias.
Okay, thank
Bye.
you. Bye-bye. Yes, I know folks are passionate about a lot of different issues, and we understand that. I certainly understand that. But this morning we're discussing, it's a discussion on the proposed agreement between Southland Gaming and VIGL operations. And I know that a lot of horse owners are paying close attention to the discussion this morning, because I've had a couple of them over the weekend approach me, asking me questions, specific questions about this particular thing. And I just wanted to not just discuss what exists in the agreement, but I wanted to take the audience way back so they could understand things that transpired that would be relevant as we proceed. Because if we're proceeding, the Senate is deliberating or getting ready to ask questions tomorrow morning, I am tempted to believe that this issue is probably going to be split along the district lines. And along the district lines, there might be one deciding vote to determine whether or not this that they're putting before the Senate is this proposed agreement, whether it would go forward or fail. And I think that even for some of the St. Thomas district senators, go back and do some historical research. And you don't have to go based on what I mentioned on the radio. Go based on what exists, go based on the facts. And I know that it's expected that the head of the casino commission, the head of different agencies, to include but not limited to the Attorney General of the Virgin Islands, will be coming before the Senate to testify based on the list of persons that I saw on the agenda to testify before the Senate. And, you know, I just wanted to step back a little bit, because I know the question is going to be whether VLT is in fact a form of internet gaming. And if we go by the definition that Wikipedia, that is not a reliable source when it comes to the intellectuals, when it comes to the universities, when it comes to, you got to be careful with Wikipedia, because anyone can go in there and edit the content, description, definition, summaries, analogies, all types of stuff, information they can potentially put in there. So understand that the who are pro and who's con, they can both go in and edit its definition. But here is how I would break it down. And nothing is subject to my personal opinion, of course. When you go back into the legislative history of the legislature, the senators, legislators, their deliberation often is included in establishing intent of a legislation. So now if we go back to 2001 and the deliberation that took place on the floor of the legislature, you will note that senators spoke about, oh, they can't wait for sports betting. We are going into the new age, a new era, where we're ahead of the 8 ball. We're talking about sports betting. We're talking about lottery games, lottery terminals, video lottery terminals. We're talking about, it was established in the record back then that VLT, all forms of video lottery terminals, horse betting, sports betting, pari-mutuel. You go right down the line. Off-track betting, they all came into one category. So I don't really see, if you go back to court now to test who have exclusivity, how Southland Gaming is going to prevail when one more thing is tested in the court proceeding. And that is going back to the original, the first internet gaming and gambling law that was passed by the 25th legislature of the Virgin Islands. So I think as the research, and I know some folks are listening to me, that this would resonate with them because it could potentially hinder their pursuits. But I think ultimately at the end of the day, and weighing in on what the Attorney General had to say, I think it was over a year or 2 years ago, maybe longer than that, about 3 years ago, that no one has exclusivity on gambling in the Virgin Islands, and certainly VLTs have no exclusivity. So whatever the court have ruled, I think now is the opportunity for the Attorney General to go way back and weigh in on the first legislation that was passed and come forward. And you see, during that time, if you look, don't for a second believe that I even voted for internet gaming and gambling at the time. I didn't. And I didn't because I had discussions with the Attorney General at the time. I had discussions with many folks at the time. And one of the things that they had concluded was that the federal government at the time did not recognize it, the activity, as a legal activity. Therefore, for me to have voted for it was to encourage the investors, encourage the persons who were bound to own the host company, that they could proceed and there is no problem. So I was very cautious, but I truly believe that was the way for the Virgin Islands to go in growing the Virgin Islands and bringing in multiple companies to do the hosting here in the Virgin Islands, so that the Virgin Islands government would reap its rewards, which I can tell you would be extremely significant. But for some reason, with the bully in town, everyone is being derailed and disenfranchised. And will the bully succeed with the Senate in convincing the Senate of an extension of 12 years and the caveat that they appease the horse owners? And this is where the politics come in, that they claim to be appeasing the horse owners and the horse racing enthusiasts because we're going to put purses in there. We're going to do. I want to see this agreement. Is there an agreement? And I hope that every senator asks the same question on the floor of the legislature. Is there an agreement between Southland Gaming and VIGL? I would like to see the contents of it. As a former senator, as a former Senate president, as a former liaison to Congress, as a former liaison to the White House, I would like to know. I really would like to see the agreement to be able to evaluate it, divest it myself. Because if you put this in perspective, when Southland Gaming first came in, when this internet gaming and gambling came in to the Virgin Islands, or to the Virgin Islands for discussion and consideration, it wasn't with the intention of ensuring that it would be in perpetuity. But if there was any of them to be in perpetuity, it would seem to me that the internet gaming and gambling should have already been effectuated. And I have the world of confidence, and I would say it unequivocally, I have the world of confidence in even the chairman of the Casino Commission that they will be able to get this thing off the ground once and for all. And of course, the issue of exclusivity now, Southland Gaming doesn't have any exclusivity. So maybe the Attorney General should ask the courts to weigh in on the issue before they even move forward with anything else, to answer that question once and for all. Because could you imagine, and let me illustrate a scenario. Folks, can you imagine if the Virgin Islands legislature proceeded with passing some so-called proposed agreement between Southland Gaming and VIGL. And here comes a third party challenging it in court to determine and have the court fully determine whether or not or who has exclusivity. Then it would seem to me that you're putting horse owners and horse racing enthusiasts through a whole ordeal once again, which I think is truly unfair. Don't lie to them. Provide them with what is right. Provide them with what is consistent. Provide them with what is legal. Provide them with what makes sense. Provide them with what would be truly beneficial for both government and the people of the Virgin Islands. And that's all I have said. By this stage, no company should have something in perpetuity. And the Virgin Islands government continue to not grow its revenues. The Virgin Islands government now is the opportunity for them to make a decision and grow your bottom line. Because understand now that if we flip this coin, and let's say, hypothetically speaking, the government decides, you know what, we're going to run we're going to run the VLTs in the Virgin Islands in the meantime, and we're going to hire Southland Gaming to be the managers at only 23% of the revenues. Does that make sense to you guys? Because it makes sense to me, and I'm quite sure it should make sense to the stakeholders. It should make sense to all the leadership that we have in the Virgin Islands. Because if we continue to walk this road, and I'm telling you, there is a strong possibility that the issue of exclusivity is going to be tested in the courts again. Because facts are facts, and you just can't simply dismiss facts. So folks, I know I have exhausted some time, and of course I always had the line open from 15 minutes after I started my dialogue. But you're welcome to call in, you're welcome to ask questions, and I'm talking about even those who are pros, cons, even those who are cons or against what I have to say. You're welcome to call in, you're welcome to share your perspective, because that's what I do. I will entertain your perspective and allow you. The number to call here, WST, is 340-774-1340. And don't say that I did not invite you to call in, because I could imagine tomorrow you're going to hear them saying, our radio host said this, our radio host said that. But don't try to shape what you think I said. Try to extract the facts out of there and go based on the facts. Because at the end of the day, we should be on the same side. We should be looking out for the greater good. What's in the best interest of Virgin Islanders and the Virgin Islands government. And in this instance here, what I'm seeing, the course that I'm seeing some are taking, it's not in the best interest of the Virgin Islands. And I believe that if there was ever a good opportunity for the government through the Attorney General's office to try and test who have exclusivity, it could do the research. All the documentation is there in the legislature, because I think that you have disenfranchised one party who may very well have the exclusivity to this, and it's truly sad that there's only one game in town, and maybe we could correct that. It's not too late. Now is the opportune time. Not an extension of another 12 years with a caveat of giving money for race day, but controlling all the VLT machines and racing facility. I'm not seeing, I want to see the agreement between the two entities and the full breakdown of how this this distribution is going to take place. What is the full percentage that the government is getting? What is going for different non-profit organizations? Where's the distribution? Where's the commitments? I'm not seeing anything. But, in actuality, the one entity that I think has a vested interest as well and have been disenfranchised was VIGL. VIGL exhausted a lot of resources for the cleanup of boat racing facilities, and then they get bullied. Then they're bullied to the point where they have to subscribe to a proposed agreement without an agreement executed. That's amazing. I've never seen this in Virgin Islands history, dealing with the legislature and the administration. And I've been around these parts for a very, very long time. So I'm looking forward to seeing at what point they're going to come forward with this. I'll be paying close attention to what is actually taking place in the legislature tomorrow, and seeing if in fact we can extract from that what exactly is supposed to take place in terms of this proposed agreement, who's going to get what, how they're going to get it, and the list goes on. And I think the public is waiting to hear the details on this. So folks, again, the number to call here, WSTM, don't know if, let me see. Yeah, the number to call here, WSTA, is 340-774-1340-1340. I know you're paying close attention to the details that I'm providing, because that's why I try my best to, in fact, do proper research, do my research, and be able to qualify my statements based on facts, not assumptions. And I provided timelines, and they could go back into the legislature from 2000, when the initiative first landed in the legislature, and that is internet gaming and internet gambling. And look at the transcript as the senators deliberated, what each senator said on the record relative to that. It's right there. And you're welcome to go back into the legislature, and the bill that I mentioned about repealing the authorization, it's right there in clear view. And I actually stated on the record that in an effort to try balance a budget, and we were told that these games would be only for the ports, but they ended up in just about every mom and pop establishment. And I'm happy for them. I'm happy for those who have been able to look at this opportunity as a windfall in the business. But I have to look at it from another perspective, the consumer, and also the government and the revenues that the government is receiving. It is time for the government now to reap the lion's share of the revenues, because by now we should have learned how this thing operates and how we can run it for ourselves. So, you know, it's like a person approached me, and then there's a consistency. One of my people on Facebook just said, games, games, games. And they're right. It's a lot of games being played. And you see, it is interesting, because Adler Fonsi Donistor or no one else is supposed to speak the truth about whether it's a Southland Gaming or anyone else. So if everyone supports a certain position, what does that say for democracy? What does that say for you, the listeners and viewers? It says that everyone is subscribing to the same ball game. And I don't subscribe to just a ball game. And it's many of you out there listening to me that don't want to subscribe to the ball game either. You hear me say a lot of things. You have a lot of folks right now that go along to get along. And some of these same folks are the ones who are trying to build generational wealth, or have already built generational wealth on the backs of the people of the Virgin Islands. And you know, in humor now, and I tell folks, someone approached me at Cookie Point and said, you know, this former senator came to me and he was talking so bad about you, and he said this, and you know what I told them? I said, you know what you need to do? And I'm not speculating or assuming who it is, but I could imagine. So when I turned to the person, I said, when they come to you again, tell them, pay you for it. Pay you to dislike Donna Storg. Because that could be a new business and new opportunities in town. When they come to you and they tell you all these negative things about me, ask them to pay you. Pay you to hate me. Pay you to dislike me. Pay you to speak ill of me. Pay you to campaign and say the most negative things about me. but make sure they pay you. Because you see, while they're fooling you, they continue to build their generational wealth on the backs of the people of the Virgin Islands. But guess what? No one else wants to say anything because they want to go along to get along. That's not Adler Fonsi Donnerstog. Because I feel strong about equity, equal dispensation of justice, that everyone receives a fair chance. We have so much money in the Virgin Islands now that it's enough money to go around for everyone, for all the contractors out there. We should have had a lot of these projects off the ground and subcontracting a lot of the contractors around here. But it's not happening because there's folks who go along to get along and subscribe to the practices and the games that are played in the process of disenfranchising and displacing a lot of people. When does it stop? Only you, Virgin Islanders, can stop this paradigm. Only each and every one of you. It's not about me. Because I could sit here and I could trumpet what they're saying and probably land sponsorships by the same select group of people. Because that's what they do good. But no, because I don't feel that you would have a fair chance to hear the truth. You need to hear the truth. And what is going on in the Virgin Islands is practically stagnating us. It's a poison that will continue to keep us back from true growth, real growth. But it's just, I'm not the only one that should be here fighting in the wilderness. All of you should be fighting in the wilderness, because at the end of the day, while they build their generational wealth and they get some of you to subscribe to their antics, they're building their generational wealth and they look and they laugh at you because they feel that they had such an influence on you. And behind your back, they're laughing at you like you are the idiot. No. Virgin Islanders are waking up. Wake up. It's a lot that is going on. And maybe my voice, some people who have been poisoned mentally will not sit down and listen to the content of what I have to say because they're prepared to kill the messenger. They don't care what the messenger have to say because they don't like the messenger, because their influential friend told them to not like the messenger. So again, I'm going to tell you, develop a business for yourself. Make sure it's all worth it. Tell them to pay you to not like former Senator or Adler Fonsi Donnerstog. Tell them pay you to not like me. Pay you to dislike me. Because at the end of the day, I did not walk the road they walked. I've always been grounded in my belief. And my belief was to protect the people of the Virgin Islands at all costs. And you do know when I say at all costs, at all costs. You know who they are standing out there. Build their generational wealth on the backs of the people of the Virgin Islands. Here we have an instance. Now we're going to find out from the legislature who else feel that there should be fair dispensation. The legislature will have an opportunity to deliberate on this item and determine whether or not they should proceed with giving the bully another 12 years under certain disguise and under certain caveats. Well, I provided my 2 cents. Whether some of them are listening or not listening, it's up to them. But I will continue to draw the facts, bring the facts to you, present the facts as I see it, and allow you to make a determination on whether or not this is something that you support, or whether or not, in the instance of listening to me, whether it makes sense or it doesn't make sense. But I encourage you, I urge you to do your own fact finding to determine whether or not there was a consistency one way or the other. And I'm saying that this proposed agreement, I want to believe that it's not going to fly in the face of Virgin Islanders, because we have a group of noble men, competent men and women that serve in the legislature of the Virgin Islands. And they will have to make a decision come whenever, because I think tomorrow is just for the purpose of a committee on hold for questions to be asked about this proposed agreement. I'm hoping before the deliberation starts that myself, along with a lot of Virgin Islanders, can call the legislature and ask for a copy of the signed agreement between Southland Gaming and VIGL, because it would make sense for us to be able to follow the discussion. Look at the agreement that these both parties executed and make a determination whether or not it's in the best interest of Virgin Islanders and how we would proceed. And before I close, because I believe I'm down to the end of the hour, Rab didn't have to signal me this morning, but I want to say to you guys that we have a lot of stuff pending here in the Virgin Islands, and for horse owners and horse racing enthusiasts, there is $4 million set aside somewhere that was specifically for mitigation of the flooding over there at the racetrack and some rehabilitation. Where is the $4 million? I think that could be used in the meantime for the development of the racetrack, and perhaps some added to it, in their wisdom, could come up with an initiative to control VLTs and test it to see if in fact the government of the Virgin Islands, who provided an authorization, could you imagine they cannot indulge in VLTs because someone have exclusivity? We need to test that exclusivity again, folks. And that $4 million, again, I'm going to repeat this. The $4 million, let housing parks or sports parks and recreation. I have confidence in Calvert White that can spearhead the restoration of the horse racing facility for the horsemen and the horse racing enthusiasts, so that at least we know that there's promise on the horizon. So until next Monday, I didn't mention my sponsors, but I want to thank Catch of the Day and Cookie Point Beach, and even Petra there on Cookie Point Beach for their support, and people go and support them as well. When I look at the dishes, this morning is oxtail by Petra.
I know where you're going.
And Rob, I know you know I'm going. and oxtail is something to die for. Ain't everyone can cook oxtail.
That's the truth.
Petra own is to die for.
Melt in your mouth.
And of course, Catch of the Day. Lobster, conch, everything from the sea, or from the water to the pot to your plate. Catch of the Day. But they have a delicious menu that's to die for. And last but not least, Fine Print Consulting Services. I am the president and the CEO of Fine Print Consulting Services. And what we do is we offer services to mid-sized to large businesses, whether it's on restructuring, management concept, you name it, we provide it. We specialize in a solution for your business. But we also assist the little folks with anything that you need assistance with, letters, letter writing, taking position, an opinion on something. But we assist people throughout the U.S. Virgin Islands, and I'm talking about St. Thomas, St. Croix, St. John, Water Island. This has been Adler Fonsi Donnerstog here on Connect the Dots. So until next Monday, same time, 10 to 11 a.m., you will have a follow-up on some of these discussions, but also embracing other discussions of interest to the people of the Virgin Islands. So do have a wonderful day, productive, and blessed week. God bless each and every one of you.
Please log into your mobile phone, television, computer for live streaming or your nearest radio. It's now time to listen to Connecting the Dots.
It's Catch of the Day. From the water to the pot to your mouth, everything is fresh at Catch of the Day, located on Cookie Point Beach. Enjoy some of your favorite seafood dishes, fresh catch, lobster, conch, and whelks, when in season, as well as surf and turf. They cater to your wishes. While you sit and wait for your food, enjoy the friendly bar and bask in the ambience that is second to none. Enjoy the white sand, sun, and crystal blue water. We are sure the experience will be unique. Monday through Sunday, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Come and enjoy Catch of the Day on Cookie Point Beach.